Hey everyone, it's Kim from Dream Build Academy, and today's video is about how to pick the best architectural style for your dream home. I know this is one of the most confusing things. There's so many variables involved because we look at houses of different styles and we think, oh, I love that, or I love that, and I love that, and how do you mix them all together, and how do you even prioritize what you like? So today in this video, I'm going to give you a process. I'm going to walk you through it. I'm attaching a worksheet in the links below, and you can download the worksheet and you can do this on your own. This is a high-level walkthrough of the process I use to help both myself and my clients get more clarity around what they want from their architectural style. And to me, honestly, you've heard me say this before, but visualizing what you want and getting clarity is probably the most important thing you can spend your time on when you're embarking on the adventure of building a dream home. You don't want to make costly mistakes, and believe me, I have probably made all of them, including what I'm going to talk about today. I thought it would be fun to use some famous movie houses to walk you through this process. If you've been keeping a folder of styles that you love, feel free to just pull those out and use those in place of the images that I'm showing you. What I'm going to do today is actually show you the results of me going through the process. I suggest you just set aside a night if you've got a spouse or a partner that's building this with you. This is a great thing to do together. I'm not a marital counselor, so don't look to me for that advice. But if you go into this with an open heart and an open mind, with the objective of working together to create a shared vision, then this is going to be a really great thing for you. Put aside all the distractions, just commit to putting down your cell phone for an hour or two, clearing your plate, get rid of all the distractions, grab a glass of wine, and just have fun doing this. So what I did for you in preparing this video is I went through and I picked 10 of the most classic movie homes that would represent a broad range of styles. I'm just going to go through those with you. I'll show you my results from doing the work as an example of what you should be doing. Here we go. Okay, so the first house I picked was the Home Alone house. That is just classic Georgian architecture. I mean, this is an all-American home. You couldn't get more all-American than this. The second home I picked is from the Brothers and Sisters movie. It's a Mediterranean-style architecture, totally understated, elegant. How would you feel if you were driving home to this house? Number 3, the Something's Gotta Give house. Who wouldn't want a house in the Hamptons? I call this the shingle-style house. Number 4, the Blind Side movie, French Provincial. A little too formal for me, but man, what a statement this makes. And one of my all-time favorite movies, number 5, I picked The Father of the Bride house, a Classic Colonial. This is just a white picket fence wonder. Can you see your daughter getting married in this house? Oh, they made a movie about that, right? Number 6, It's Complicated, Spanish Colonial Revival. I love this house. This is personally one of my favorites. This is just rustic, ranchy, charm, understated, sophisticated. Number 7, the Marley and Me house, pastoral, magical. Number 8, The Proposal. This one, it just takes you away. I call this Queen Anne architecture. Some people might call it classic American Foursquare. This just takes you to a different time and place. Number 9, North by Northwest, mid-century modern. This is Frank Lloyd Wright at his best, and it's so James Bond. And number 10, the Wyham house. This is a classic modern house. You see these all over LA. It's a typical West LA celebrity hideout. Fabulous. So the first thing I do in this process is I look at it from the right side of my brain. That's the emotional, creative side of your brain. So I pick my top 3 out of this list. When you're going back and looking at them, really pay attention to the emotional reaction that you have to these houses. Again, I've got the worksheet that you can download. When you download it and have it in front of you, you'll see exactly what I'm doing. Rather than walking you completely through this exercise, I'm just going to give you the net result. My 3 favorite were the Spanish Colonial Revival, the shingle-style house, the Hamptons home, and the Frank Lloyd Wright mid-century modern. I love these 3 houses, but each was so different. You're going to notice that in your list too. Your styles might be completely different. I had to get to the bottom of why that was happening. So I put together a short list of the top 5 emotional reactions that I had, or the top 5 emotional things that are important to me. The first is that I want a family home that's casual but elegant. So even if the scale is completely grand, I need it to feel intimate and cozy and family-oriented. Another thing that was really important to me is that it must feel like a safe harbor. I need the home to be a place where I can have my inner circle, the immediate friends and family that I'm entertaining and that I want to just relax and be myself with. And number 3, it must be unique. I'm an architectural fanatic, so to me, an architectural statement is really important. Number 4 on my list is I want the home to really embrace the whole concept of indoor-outdoor living. I like to be able to open up the doors and windows, move in and out of the spaces, find little cubby holes where I can think and relax and entertain and just move freely in and out of the space. And the last thing on my list, number 5, was, if I'm really honest with myself, I need big trees. I need big open spaces, and I need expansive views. I gave you an example of my list so that you would know what to do when you're coming up with your list. If you are doing this with your spouse or your partner, this is actually a great time to start to share. Test the waters on sharing. Sit and listen to each other with a really open mind so that you can move forward towards a shared vision. The second step of this process is to shift from your right brain to your left brain. So now I want you to go back and take your top 3 list again and look at it from a completely practical and objective point of view. What are your favorite things about these homes? By attributes, let me give you an example of some of the things that I would be thinking about. You could look at color palettes. You could look at textures on the outside of the home. Is it a combination of wood and stone, or is it just all one material like stucco? What are the materials that you like on each of these buildings, and what are you responding to? Really look at the window styles. Windows are a huge thing in a house, and you'll notice that some architectural styles promote really broad expanses of windows and sliding glass doors and things like that. And other architectural styles have very small but symmetrically placed windows that might impact the views. There's also the scale of the house. Some people like a more intimate house. Some people like a really grand house. Think about how the scale relates to the actual property. The Spanish Colonial Revival, that looked like a small house. It's not, but it looked small because it's so integrated with the surroundings. The shingle style house that was on my top 3, that one kind of looked like it engulfed the whole property. There's also the orientation of the house. The Spanish Colonial Revival, it was just a long, thin house, and because it was long and thin and just rectilinear, the windows were fixed in their position. They weren't oriented towards a view. The building was put there, and the windows are just what they are, and so whatever you're capturing from that window is the view. Whereas in like the mid-century modern house, the architect has that house perched on top of a mountain, and the views are looking out all to that valley in multiple different directions. You might look at any distinct landscaping features. Do you love English garden? Do you like something more natural? And step 2 of the process, I want you to go back and compile a top 5 list. Here are my top 5. 1 is that I really like strong horizontal elements. That was something new that I learned about myself. Number 2, massive overhangs. Each one of these styles, even though they're completely different, they all had massive overhangs. And that's important to me because of the indoor-outdoor living. Number 3, blackened steel windows. They all had mullions. I prefer the long horizontal mullions instead of the cross grids. The 4th thing for me was that I love repetition. I loved that each of these houses had some element that was just repetitive and created the sense of harmony and symmetry. Step number 3 in this process is that I want you to now take a look at the interiors of the home and evaluate the top 3 based on the interior attributes of the house. The architectural style you pick is going to dictate what's going on in the interiors. I'm not saying that you can't mix it up a little bit and be bold in your choices, but the reality is that the architectural style is going to dictate what the interior of the house is going to look like. In this case, I'm going to give you 6 or 7 different attributes that I want you to evaluate. The first is the size and the scale of the rooms. I'm going to go back to the Spanish Colonial. When you walk into the inside of that house, there's not going to be a lot of level changes in the ceiling heights. You might get up to 16 or 18 feet depending on how big the overall house is, but it's just going to have that sense of being smaller scale and more cozy and intimate. Now on a modern house, the size and the scale of the rooms can change dramatically. You can walk in to an entry hall or a foyer that's 20 or 30 feet up, and then you can walk into a dining room that has 12-foot high ceilings, and you can change the scale on the inside of the house pretty easily. The shingle style house that I picked is going to be somewhere in between. It's going to have set floor plates at the ground level and the second floor level, but there might be some great room areas and other areas that are 2-story. The next thing is the windows and views. We talked about this on the outside, but now I want you to think about it from the inside of the house. What are you going to be looking at from the inside of the house? Are you going to like looking through mullion bars? Are you going to like looking through smaller, more intimate windows? Or do you want just big, open expanses of glass with very thin frames so that you're not seeing anything except the outside? Also think about the transitions from inside to outside. Some architectural styles are very safe. So you walk into the home, there's a main door, and there's only 2 or 3 secondary doors in the home, so it just has that sense of being very, very safe. Other styles are much more open. You might have nothing but doors in the house. And I want you to think about your interior furnishings, the finishes, and the fixtures. A modern house is going to look much different on the inside. Here's an example. I love fabric. When I walk into a house, even if it's a modern house, I want to see some draperies and fabric somewhere. But that is a little bit difficult to do in a really ultra-modern home because that's just not the look. For me, one of the appealing things about the Spanish Colonial Revival style is that I can have fabric everywhere, and it can be heavy drapes and brocade and things like that. Think about what you like in terms of your interior furnishings, the fixtures like the lighting fixtures and any decorative elements that might be attached on the inside, the plumbing fixtures. Think about the cabinetry. Do you like modern? Do you like more traditional cabinetry? All those things matter, and you want what you choose on the outside to match the inside. Step number 4 is putting this all together into a score sheet. The easiest thing to do is just print out my workbook and follow that. But if you're doing this on paper and you're just following along, then you want 3 sections: the emotional section, the exterior architectural attributes, and the interior attributes. Down the one side, put your 3 styles across the top, and then just rank everything on a 5-point scale. 5 being your favorite, and 1 being your least favorite, and just start scoring. 1 is probably going to be pretty far in the lead. The really important thing from this exercise is that I think you'll probably discover you could manage or be really happy with several of these architectural styles. It's about putting all the elements together. The right lot, the right house, the right exterior, the right interior, and then all of a sudden it becomes your dream home. Step number 5, I want you to answer these 5 questions. The first question is, does this final score ring true to you? Does it match with your intuition? Are you surprised? Or does it feel right? We want it to feel right. And if it didn't feel right, then go back and reanalyze it and figure out why. The second one was, what were the big surprises? There's a lot to be learned by what surprised you. When I followed my own rules and did the exercise, I was surprised. So take note of the things that surprised you, because there's definitely something to learn from that. There's value there. The third question is, think about where you want your dream house to be. Maybe you've already purchased a lot. There will be constraints on your project just by where you've purchased a lot. But if you haven't purchased one, knowing the architectural styles that you like, it might help you make a better decision on your lot purchase. The fourth question is, what on your list could you put aside and use for negotiation with your spouse or your partner? And number 5, did any of the styles drop off your list? Like you thought you really loved something, but when you went through this process, you decided, oh, that doesn't work at all? Well, that's a great thing to know. So just take it off your list, go back through your photos or the photos that I showed you, do the process again, and find a new one. I hope this was a fun exercise for you. If you're confused on this exercise or you need more insight on it, you can direct message me through the Facebook group for Dream Build Academy, or make a comment on the YouTube channel and I'll get back to you. Subscribe if you want more content like this, and press the notifications if you want to be notified each time we release a new video. Thanks for being here today. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon.